And we got to go to Willamette Speedway last Saturday night. It was good to be
back.
And
I missed that.
Well, you were up doing some NASCAR stuff, and you guys had a major accident up there. We're going to talk about in a little while. Willamette Speedway, we had the non-wing sprint cars. We had street stocks, sportsmen, and Hornets. All in all, we had a pretty good night of racing. The track was pretty darn good. I got to give Track Prep a shout out. The track was pretty racy.
Yeah.
Started taking
slick.
Well, it was for a while. Then started taking some rubber. There was a groove up top. It was fast on the bottom.
Wow.
It was kind of cool because Bryson James, I know we talk about him a lot on the show. He's one of our local drivers. You know, he's making a name for himself. Had never been in a non-wing sprint car and went out and qualified second fast.
Yeah.
Now, he's got a lot of time in the wing sprint cars, but this is his first time without a wing.
What was Chili Bowl?
Midgets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same type of deal,
right,
but just with a bigger scale and more horsepower and, 360.
Right. Okay.
He qualified second fast, which was, pretty impressive for a guy.
First time.
Yeah. And
nice.
He was a little frustrated,
That he got second?
Yeah. Well, he second fast, and then he ran good all night. He actually won his heat race, pulled off a last lap, a pass that had everybody jumping up on, of all people, Miss Lindsey Barney.
I wish I could have seen that.
Oh, it was unbelievable because Lindsey Barney had led that entire race.
Uh-huh.
And we know how good Lindsey Barney is. She's coming off 2 straight feature wins, coming into the race at Willamette, and she was fast. And the thing about Lindsey Barney is, and I've said it a million times in the show, and I'll say it a million more, when it comes to the sprint cars, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody drive one smoother than what she does.
Really?
She is, she holds that wheel she's just so smooth and just phenomenal.
I know we talked a lot about her last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's coming off. She came off 2 straight wins coming into Willamette, was looking for a third in a row, and they had actually, I think we had 19 or 20 non-wing sprint cars show up. Where the first race we had 9.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of guys show up, and there was some good competition. The heat race I was talking about, when she led from the green flag all the way out of turn 4, Bryson had hunted the track behind her and tried her a couple times, and just didn't have what it took to get by her. But he had committed himself to the upper groove where she was running off the bottom to the middle. Coming to the white flag, the lap before the white flag, he nearly passed her at the stripe, and the fans started really getting excited. Now, taking the white flag, she had about a 4-car advantage. And then going into turn 1, Bryson kept it on the high side, pitched it in, stood on it. She committed to the bottom. They had a drag race down the backstretch through turns 3 and 4, and Bryson took a run from the apex out of turn 4, ran up next to her, and inched her out by maybe a half a car at the stripe. It was one heck. So we knew based upon watching that finish,
the main was
going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, the first time that the non-wing sprint cars came to Willamette, it was Lance Hallmark in the 8H.
Right,
Remember that? He picked up the win. He started very, very deep in the field. And it was, I think, anybody that was going to put their money on Hallmark was gambling. With that being said, Lindsey Barney and Bryson James were starting up, towards the front. Bryson had a little deal in between his heat race and the main event where they had got a hole in the radiator during the heat race.
Oh, I saw a post on that, yeah.
They took the radiator out, they put the backup in, got it fired up, and there was a hole in that one.
In the backup?
Yes.
Oh,
so
man. They
had to take it out, borrow a third one, and put it in, and got him out for the main. And long story short, Lindsey Barney led a lot of that race, about the first half. And she started racing with Bryson James, who was right there. And Bryson, he tried her every way possible and just couldn't get that extra little bit of forward bite to get by her. And while they're battling for the lead, here comes Hallmark in the 8H from deep in the field, ran up on him and went by both of them on the backstretch into turn 3. I don't know where he found the speed, but that car, the longer they ran, the faster he got. He was clearly the fastest car on the track. You look at the James Gang Pizza speed chart there in the Moxie Tower, and he was clearly the fastest car on the track. And it got faster as the laps clicked off and started pulling away. And when he got by, he checked out, and he won by a pretty good advantage. That being said, right behind him, the battle for second between Bryson and Lindsey Barney was the best race of the night because they put on one heck of a show for the entire course of that feature. And, Bryson got a podium finish in third. Lindsey Barney finished second.
Looks like Lindsey Barney had fast time with a 16:55.
Yep. Now, what does it say in the feature, though?
That is in the feature.
Okay, because if you look at Lance Hallmark's times in the feature.
Hallmark, his best time was a 16:68, and she was a 16:55.
And Bryson was a 16:80.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, they were, and Jake Gilman. Jake Gilman was actually really fast in the 15R. He had the exact same lap time as Bryson James, 16:805. But the it was a good racing. I mean, it really was. That particular field of non-wing sprint car drivers put on a heck of a show for the fans. Gilman was somebody who surprised me because last time there, I'm not. They have the autism awareness cars. Last time there, they were good. They were all right. It wasn't like they would lit the world on fire. And that's a couple young guys that are getting used. Him and Batalja getting used to these cars.
Batalja, that's the name I was trying to think of.
Yeah. Gilman was. I mean, he really turned it on. He was fast. Shout out to those guys too. But Bryson and Lindsey put on one heck of a race. It was an awesome thing to watch. It was fun to call. But Lance Hallmark, he has got something figured out. And he said in his interview, hey, we saw what the track was doing. We made our changes. We went back to what we ran here, when we were here 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And, he goes, it worked. And we just kept it on the bottom. And that's what he did. And, man, I'll tell you what, it worked.
It's not very often the bottom's faster than the top. When the top works.
Well, and that's what surprised me because there was a top groove, and that's where Bryson was at. And
Right.
Lindsey kind of ran the upper bottom to the lower middle. It was kind of like those three cars ran different lines.
Yeah.
And they were all fast, all of them. I mean, it was just kind of weird to watch how those three cars and where they ran, how good they were in their own groove, really. It was fun though. It was a great night of racing for the non-wing cars. We didn't have any late models. We didn't have any modifieds or super sports. So the sportsman cars were the next up, prior to the non-wing cars. And I'm talking about a guy that he's got it figured out. It took him a little bit of time driving some old cars, like when he started in the street stocks, he had that car. It was just, he couldn't buy luck if it was on a shelf, in a store. He could not. Yeah. He couldn't buy luck if it was bottled. I mean, just didn't have an ounce of luck. The car broke. It caught on fire. And then he kind of started dialing things in, got a little better in street stock. And then he bought a sportsman car and went through the learning process, picked a couple minds out in the pit area, got with one guy in particular, said, this is what you need to do. He started applying those practices into the cockpit, and he has won 4 straight features in the number 97, Ryan Emery. I mean, and it's not like he's coming through the field and winning by a car length or 2 car lengths. He is completely dominating this field. Like, we're talking wins by over half a lap.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Ever since he put a new pair of shoes on that car, it has been a rocket.
It has.
And he's still on that.
He's on that same set
of shoes. Yeah.
He's on the same set, and I don't know what is going on. What finally came
Something
all
clicked.
together? Something clicked, and
Yeah.
I think, and if you talk to him, he's not going to hide it. He'll tell you what he said. He said, "Hey, look," and I talked to a particular driver.
He's a straight shooter.
This is what it is. This is what we're doing. He goes, "I haven't changed anything on the car." He goes, "We've moved 1 bar, 1 hole." He goes, "But the difference is what I'm doing in the seat and the way I'm trail braking the car."
Yep.
Now that's all I'm going to say. But he has got it figured out because it's not just like he's like I said, he's edging cars out. He's so fast through the corners. He's just flying around Willamette Speedway. And there right now, I would not say there's a sportsman car that has anything for that 97.
Well, when you beat Kyle Yak by almost 6 seconds,
right?
That's
well, and Kyle was in a street stock.
Yeah,
he was running a street stocking at the Sportsman, and he was fast. But then you've got Jeff Marson in the 13, good quality equipment. He was fast that night.
Brad Lato, he's been running fairly decent. Chris Frisbee, he's been running good.
I mean, Frisbee in the Sport Mod was 9.2 seconds back. But that's a difference between I think those big wide
Titus.
The big wide slicks and the G60s. I think the Sportsman cars are going to have that advantage because of the traction. When the track goes as slick as it was for the Sportsman cars, it was pretty slick during their feature.
Yeah.
Then the sprint cars came out and they put them big Hoosiers on there and put some rubber down, and man.
Yeah, who's your humpers?
Right. and that 97 car of Ryan Emery, I mean, I don't know if you watch all the cars at the racetrack right now in their respective classes.
Well, you want to talk about smooth.
Absolutely.
He's been
he drives that car down the straightaway. He turns it in. He gets in the throttle, and that car just accelerates through the corners. And he says that car will turn itself. Watching it, I'd have to believe him. Yeah. It is so smooth and so fast on the exit. There's no push in the car anymore. And I think that's because of what he's doing with his left foot.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been just flawless. And I'd say if you want to talk about all the classes as a whole, including Tracy Muse, who is absolutely dominating the Hornet class, I'd say pound for pound the best car at Willamette Speedway right now is the 97 of Ryan Emery.
Yeah, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Ryan is stand-up dude.
He is probably one of the nicest guys you'll meet in all of racing. I don't care where you go. I'll tell you something funny. I'm not going to say the person who said this, but we were talking about Ryan Emery, and they just kind of shook their head, and I said, "What? Are you upset at Ryan?" He goes, How can anybody be upset with Ryan Emery? That guy is way too happy all the time. I just started laughing.
Oh, maybe there's something to that.
I just started laughing. Like, if I was running as good as he is, I'd be
happy too.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Chris Frisbee here on the Swears Trucking chat line says, Ryan is doing a great job. Awesome guy. Tough running against the slicks on a slick track. I enjoy racing with him. And then, there's Tracy. Hi, everyone, with a bunch of hearts. So, yes, we're talking about your husband. Don't tell him we're talking good about him, Tracy. But he has been, I mean, it's incredible what he's doing in the cockpit of that 97 car.
Yeah. Oh, and you got Steve Pfeiffer there in 6th. And
he's driving the Blanchard's car. Yeah. And Pfeiffer looked pretty good. He looked pretty darn good for a guy that hasn't, that I haven't seen behind the wheel for a few years. I mean,
I was having a heck of a time with his name the night I announced.
Yeah.
And then down, I guess it was during driver's appreciation, I put it together. I know Steve.
Yeah.
But, I'm trying to say his name.
He's from the area.
I know Steve very well.
Yeah, and it's funny because him and my Uncle Don used to rodeo together. And,
yeah.
Those guys, that's tough old boys right there.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to the bad side of old Steve Pfeiffer.
No, he might be quiet. But
yeah, it's the ones you got to watch out for.
That's right.
Nice guy, though. Awesome guy. And
absolutely.
you can tell he's having a ton of fun in the 75 car. Good time. Blanchard, I said, hey, the car looks good. He goes, not my car. I said, what do you mean not your car? He goes, Steve's been doing so much work on that car. He goes, it's his. He's driving it, and that's what it is. And I told him, it's his car for the rest of the year, or if he gave it to him, I don't know. But it sounded like it's now Steve's car.
Oh, wow.
We're going to see Steve behind the cockpit, which is it's always
good to see him back out there. It's been.
I remember watching him run the old Mustang. Remember that old Mustang he had?
Yeah.
That thing looked like it would fall off the trailer, and he'd get out there and just drive the doors off it and pass half. I mean, he was fast in that thing. I think
that thing's sitting outside the shop out there at the farm he works at.
No kidding. That was a neat old race car.
There's a couple old chassis sitting
there. There was a lot of old Ford fans that liked that old Mustang he had. So, it was good to see him back in actions.
All right, we got widescreen coming in here.
Oh my!
Just gonna disrupt everything.
So he just starts coming in and clicking buttons and
no how do you do, no kiss, no nothing.
Gosh, you're rude.
Yeah.
It happens,
so
buddy.
we were discussing Ryan Emery. We were discussing, and you missed the non-wing segment. We'll talk more about that later on, but we've got some more stuff to talk about in the show, upcoming events. Ryan Emery, talking about how dominant he's been in the 97, and you were there. You were in the booth with me Saturday night, as we called that show, and I said pound for pound, I'd say the most dominant race car at Willamette Speedway right now, other than Tracy Muse, is probably the 97 of Ryan Emery.
Well, I'd even go as far as to say that the 97 of Emery is probably the car to beat right now. It really is. You look at the dominant
4 straight wins.
Well, absolutely, Warren.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That is his favorite word.
I know.
It is. It is my favorite one.
It's his favorite word and stuff.
And everything else. But the thing with Ryan Emery is that he's such a nice guy. He goes out there and when he puts the loud pedal to the floor, he is absolutely dominant in everything he does. He comes out there, even if he starts in the back of the pack because he has a poor heat race during the main, he figures it out. He knows what to throw at the car, and he goes for it.
He's not throwing anything at the car. That's the thing. We watched what he did on Saturday night. He didn't change anything.
Well, here's the fun part. Do you realize he finished that main on a bad right front or left rear shock?
Regardless, it made the car faster, whatever it was, because he won by over half a lap.
He did. It was absolutely. a beautiful thing to watch. You guys are really killing me right now.
We had this issue in the Moxie Tower at the races Saturday night too,
and everything else.
I don't know what you're doing here, but